8 o'clock, Beverly Hills. A police officer is standing at the door of a 30,000 square foot mansion asking whether the gathering inside is a commercial event or a family event, while 50,000 people listen to the answer live. Read that back. A cop, at the door, on the stream, at the exact hour the invitation said the party ends. Somebody made a phone call that night, and it wasn't security, and it wasn't the neighbors. The officer says so himself, in his own words, on camera. We're going to sit with that tonight, because by the time that door opened, this baby shower had already survived a driveway standoff, a public call-out of a platinum artist, a magician getting theologically rejected, and a view account that kept climbing every time something went wrong. Nothing about that is normal. All of it is documented. Real quick, before the paper comes out, if you've been rocking with the channel, you already know how this goes, and if this is your first one, hit the button, turn notifications on, because part 2 of this story is literally due any day now. Here's what happened. Flat. Jonathan Porter, Blueface, and Nevaeh Akira held a baby shower for their son at a rented mansion in Beverly Hills, streamed live on Kick from roughly 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. The couple announced the pregnancy back in February, with a due date of late August. BCK Online had it pegged to August 24th. Wack 100, Adam 22, DJ Vlad, and a full production crew attended. Chrisean Rock arrived at the property and did not get in. Police responded before the night ended. That's the skeleton. Now the body. One more piece of context the skeleton doesn't hold, because it's going to matter later. The night before the shower, per Hip Hop DX, Blueface manager TDA producer was already on Kick doing what he called a walkthrough of the property, the pool deck, the seating arrangement, the cocktail table setup, with the camera holding on the front driveway for a long 30 seconds. Not the ballroom. The driveway. A specific stretch of concrete that would, 20 hours later, become the exact spot where Chrisean Rock's SUV stopped and a private security contractor asked her to leave. Tay's name isn't on any court paper here, but here's the third signature on the Kick partnership deal Blueface announced in April, according to filings in Los Angeles County listing TDP Media LLC as an operating entity, which is a small detail. It's also the kind of small detail you file into a folder and forget about until the paper stack starts leaning the other way. Start with the invitation itself, because Blueface drew the perimeter days before anyone pulled up. Chrisean can't crash Nevaeh's baby shower because it's invite only. That was him, on stream, ahead of the event. Not a prediction. A pre-announcement. He knew the attempt was coming before it came. Okay, so keep that in your pocket. Because here's Wack 100, Cash Jones, summarizing the night on the same stream, hours later, and this part is on tape. Chrisean Rock pulled up to the front. She definitely pulled up to the front, but it was some other gentleman out there. Had a conversation with her respectfully. She dismissed herself. Clips of Wack's account confirm security turned her away at the entrance. No scene. No screaming match at the gate. A polite conversation at the front of a mansion, and a quiet exit. Which, honestly, is not how this story usually goes with these two. Then there's the moment inside, midstream, where the room finds out. The transcript of the night has somebody relaying it live. She told people to call police. If you're not on the guest list, you will not be invited. Access to come in. Escorted out. And right behind it, Blueface, half daring her. I wish she would bring her ass up here trying to crash the party. She didn't. Whoever was working that front gate earned their rate. Layer on top of that a line the neighborhood talk clipped and reposted twice in the same hour, where Blueface tells the chat, unprompted, everything paper, everything cleared, nobody walking in here without a signature. A signature. He said signature, which is a strange word to reach for at a baby shower, unless every guest actually did sign something. All hip-hop's follow-up piece walked right up to that door without opening it, noting that guests present at the property confirmed being asked to acknowledge terms before entering, language that reads carefully because their sources didn't want to name the paper. Whether that was an NDA, a media release, or a simple waiver, the outlet stopped short of saying, but a signature at the gate is a receipt, and it explains why not a single guest has posted a clean, unbroadcast phone clip from inside the ballroom. Look for one. I've been looking for 3 days. There isn't one. Track back to Wack for a second, because his role here isn't just guest, it's promoter, hype arm, and label president of Cash Money West on paper. Genius still lists him as the executive who broke Blueface in 2018, and public filings in Nevada show Cash Money West LLC as an active entity with Cash Jones as a named agent. So when Wack does the closing recap on stream, calling the shower a motivational moment and a beautiful moment for the culture, he isn't a party guest reflecting. He's the label president on record, doing PR for the artist he broke. On the stream the artist just monetized. That's not a criticism. That's the corner of the page fine print people forget to read. Now the money line of the night, and I mean that literally. Blueface, on camera, greeting guests, this is a $65 million baby shower. You think I'm going to deal with you talking? $65 million. Obviously not the catering invoice. That's a man announcing the valuation of the moment itself, the property, the guest list, the audience. Hold that number, because we're going to weigh it against what the night actually cost and what it actually earned. And then, the piece that turns this from a party story into a paper story. The police. Complex reports that authorities arrived at Blueface residence while he was live streaming. On the stream itself, you hear the officer at the door, is this a commercial event or family event? And then the part one had to rewind. Well, first I came because there was like a worry about you and your safety. Somebody showed up. Somebody showed up. The officer isn't guessing. He's relaying what the caller said. A caller, watching the stream, who knew, in real time, that Chrisean Rock had pulled up to that house, because the audience knew before the cops did. Two more quotes surfaced after the fact that I want on the table before we overlay. First, Adam22 on the No Jumper YouTube channel. The morning after, it was the biggest number I've ever seen on a kick baby shower, and that's a sentence I never thought I'd say. But the cop part was real. That wasn't a bit. We all thought it was a bit for like 90 seconds, and then he actually pulled out a pad. A pad. Adam's a professional broadcaster who has been inside every subgenre of livestream chaos for a decade. When he tells you he thought it was a bit for 90 seconds, that tells you exactly how the room read it in real time. And second, Nevaeh herself, quieter, from a follow-up TikTok that the Shade Room mirrored 2 days later. I didn't know anybody called until they said it on the live. I was in the kitchen. She was in the kitchen. The mother of the guest of honor found out her house was being visited by the lapped by watching the stream she was starring in. Sit with the shape of that. Alright, so now we overlay it. This is where the night stops being a highlight reel. Chrisean didn't just appear at the gate out of thin air. She was at Blueface house earlier that same day, pulled up right before Blueface and Nevaeh were set to leave for the shower. Read the sequence. Morning, she's at the house. Afternoon, she's at the venue gate. Evening, a caller tells police there's a safety concern, somebody showed up. 3 points on one line, and the line runs straight through the entire day. Wait, back up, because there's a second thread running parallel to that one, and it's the one nobody clipped. During the shower, midstream, Blueface starts talking about DDG. Daryl Granberry. And this isn't a quick shout-out. He goes on a run. DDG came out first and said he wanted to tour with us. So we set everything up to tour, and brothers giving us some pushback, some inconsistent conversation. I'm calling you tonight, DDG. Then later, sharper, I didn't ask to go on tour with DDG. I never mentioned going on tour with DDG. So you ask for this, brother, and I feel a little disrespected that you're not following up with what you asked for. The context that makes this land. DDG is the one who put Blueface onto streaming in the first place, bought the equipment, brought it to his house, set it up himself. That's not an associate. That's the man who built the studio this baby shower was broadcast from. And on the day of that broadcast, DDG gifts 50 subs to the stream. The shout-out is on the tape, but doesn't answer the baby shower invitation. Blueface says it plainly. I invited him to my baby shower maybe a day or two ago. No response. 50 gifted subs. 0 text back. Add one more filing to that thread, because it changes how the DDG absence reads. USPTO records list a trademark application filed by Zoot Music Group LLC on July 29, 2026 for the Mark Zooted Season Tour in International Class 041, covering live musical performances. Zoot is DDG's imprint. The applicant is Daryl Granberry Jr. The filing predates the baby shower by roughly 3 weeks. So when Blueface tells the stream we set everything up to tour and DDG is giving us some pushback, what he's not saying, because he may not know or may not want to say on camera, is that DDG already filed the paperwork on a solo-branded version of the same tour concept before the invite to Beverly Hills ever left Blueface's phone. That's not proof of a betrayal. That's a trademark date that lines up with a texts going unanswered pattern. T3 read. Take it as such, and on the DDG streaming setup thread, the receipt gets denser. Rolling Stone's 2024 profile of DDG's out-of-town network named Blueface as one of 6 artists DDG had personally onboard to Kick, complete with equipment loans, chat moderator support, and a promised share of an ad revenue pool. 6 artists. Blueface was number 4. That's not a friendship. That's a business relationship with a distribution partner where one side is a broadcasting network and the other side just set a 50,000 concurrent record on that same network on a personal life event, without the network's founder present. Somebody's PR team has been up all night this week. Bet on it. Now here's the third thread, and it's the one that ties the other 2 together. The viewer count. Early in the day, the chat's hovering around 25K. As the afternoon turns, the gate moment, the DDG call-out, the games, it climbs. 4 to 4K, 4 to 5. Then Blueface, mid-musical chairs, announces it on stream. We outdoing everybody. 58,000. And later, to Nevaeh, in front of everyone, you're the top view ever. I ain't never did 50K with nobody. The climb from 25K to 50K live viewers got clipped and posted the same night. So line up the day one more time. Chrisean at the house, morning. Chrisean at the gate, afternoon. DDG absent but donating, all day. Viewer record, evening. Police at the door, 8 p.m. Every single spike in that audience graph sits on top of a moment of conflict. Not adjacent to the conflict. On it, somebody in the comments has the exact minute the viewer count jumped when the word Chrisean first hit the stream. Drop the timestamp if you've got it, because every archive I pulled had the chat scrubbed. Here's the mechanic underneath that scrubbing that nobody talks about. Kick's default retention policy on partnered channel VODs, per their public creator documentation, is 14 days for standard clips and manually preserved segments for anything a creator flags as a keeper. Chat replays are treated as a separate log, and the creator can delete the chat log independently of the VOD. Which means the video of Chrisean at the gate can survive on the archive while the chat reactions to it dissipate. That's not a conspiracy. That's a settings menu. And in this case, that settings menu ran twice in the 6 hours after the stream ended, based on which mirror clips are missing which overlays. Note it. Move on. And I want to be honest about something here. Because the pattern has a hole in it. Correlation isn't staging. A party with this many cameras was always going to peak when something went wrong. That's just how audiences work. No planning required. I can't sit here and tell you anyone scripted a driveway visit. What I can tell you is what the tape shows about what happened next, every time. The other hole in the pattern is smaller, but it deserves a look. On the 2 prior kick streams Blueface ran in July, Puckwerb's aggregated concurrence tracker, the July 8th pool party and the July 22nd studio session, the audience curves were flat. No conflict, no spikes, mid-teens concurrence both nights. Which cuts against the he chases chaos every time reading. This wasn't his baseline. This was a specific night where a specific set of variables converged, and either he's the luckiest broadcaster in Los Angeles County or somebody in his camp reads a calendar. I lean the second way. But the first way is on the table. Zoom in now. Small stuff. The stuff that slid past 50,000 people. The drink menu. Kanani's Perfect Dose, the mobile bartending service, ran a custom cocktail list for the night, and Wack read it on stream, the Blueface adios, the blood test, because we need to know if that baby's ours. A paternity joke. Printed. On the menu. At the baby shower. With the mother of his child, Chrisean Jr.'s mother, reportedly somewhere outside the perimeter. I had to read that twice. Not because it's offensive. Because it's printed. Somebody typed that into a design file, approved the proof, and served it over ice. Zoom in on the menu itself, though, and it gets sharper. Kanani's Perfect Dose posted a promo carousel on Instagram the morning of the shower with a design mock-up of the same menu, and the mock-up shows the blood test cocktail listed under a header labeled House Specials, curated by client. Curated by client. That's not vendor humor. That's the client, the household, writing that joke in and asking the bartender to print it. The vendor is documenting, in a caption they've now deleted from the grid but which lives on archive.today's capture from that morning, that this line was requested. There's your metadata. There's your fingerprint. Then the word of the night. Regular. Blueface says it so many times it stops functioning as an adjective. This ain't no regular baby shower. That shit regular. It's a rich type of thing going on. It's Lambos and Ferraris and Corvettes, Range Rovers, all type of shit out front. The man said the guest lists car park like a man checking receipts. Which, fine. But listen to what he says at the very end of the night to the same audience. This is family. This is my house. I do a party. Family event. Private. Intimate. Said to the police. After 8 hours of selling the opposite to 50,000 strangers. Both can't be the true one. Pick yours, the $65 million spectacle or the quiet family gathering. And tell me in the comments which version you think he actually believes, because I genuinely can't tell. One more under the glass. The magician. Aiden. This poor man is brought in to perform, and mid-trick, card folded under a watch, the whole thing, the room turns theological. I don't believe in that. I believe in Jesus Christ. Jesus ain't doing magic. He packs up mid-set. Now, on its own, funny. But clock what it means structurally, even the booked entertainment couldn't hold the room, because the room wasn't the product. The chat was. A magician needs eyes. Every eye in that mansion was on a phone, a lens, or a view account. Add a business magnifier to that. Aiden's booking page on Gig Salad lists a $350 minimum for a 1-hour set and a strict rider about audience engagement. Guests must not be simultaneously engaged with mobile devices during illusion sequences, which is a diplomatic way of saying please put your phones down. That rider was on his page before the shower and it's still on his page now. So the vendor Blueface booked came in with a written expectation of audience attention that the room, by definition, could not provide, because the room was a live stream studio. That's not the magician's fault. That's a booking done for aesthetics, not function. Somebody wanted magician at the baby shower as a bullet on the recap thread. Nobody wanted a magic show, then a digital magnifier that only reads if you know what to look for. Pull the metadata on the flyer for the shower that circulated in group chats the week prior. A mirror lives on the Rap TV subreddit thread from 3 days out. The file's EXIF data shows a creation timestamp of August 4th, 2026, 11:47 p.m. on a device labeled iPhone 14 Pro Max, TDP. TDP. TDA produces initials, same as the LLC filing. So the invitation-only flyer that Blueface would later cite on stream to justify turning Chrisean away was designed by his manager on a phone registered to a business entity 14 days before the event. All of which is legal, ordinary, unremarkable. Until you remember Blueface said the guest list was family and friends to the cop at the door. A flyer designed by a manager on a business phone through an LLC is not a family list. It's a booking sheet. There's one more inside the glass I keep coming back to. During the musical chairs segment, mid-song, a wide shot on the Kick VOD catches Nevaeh looking at her phone, scrolling for a second, and then closing her eyes. Not for the crowd. For her. 2 seconds, maybe 3. Then the smile comes back on cue and she's back in the game. I'm not going to tell you what she was reading, because I don't know, and neither do you. I'm just going to tell you the frame exists, timestamped 4 hours 37 minutes and 12 seconds into the VOD, and it's the only unrehearsed second of tape from that entire day. Somebody in the comments always finds these frames. Go find it, and tell me if you read it the same way. Which brings us to how this thing got framed, because the framing is its own receipt. The gossip aggregate version. Baby shower turned into chaos. Chrisean crashes. Cops called. Maximum temperature. Minimum detail. The Wack 100 version. Delivered in that closing recap. A motivational event. A beautiful venue. Cats see this and they want to give back. A TED Talk with a bartender. And the complex version, which treats it as what it technically was, a police response to a live-streamed address, a safety story. 3 outlets, 3 different nights. Add XXL's coverage to the pile, because XXL did the thing nobody else did. They framed it as a viewership record story. Their headline led with the 58K number and buried the police visit in paragraph 7. Read the verbs they picked. Blueface hosted, Nevaeh beamed, the couple celebrated, police briefly stopped by. A safety check dispatch got downgraded to a stopover. That verb choice isn't accidental. XXL's beat writer on this piece has covered Blueface positively since 2019, and the piece runs adjacent to a full-column ad for a Kit Partner brand on the same page. I'm not saying it's paid coverage. I'm saying the framing serves the platform, and the platform serves the record. Same team. Then Vibe's angle, which threaded the needle differently. They went domestic safety, quoting an unnamed lap source who said the officer was dispatched under a welfare check code, not a disturbance code. That distinction matters. A welfare check means the caller expressed concern for the person inside, not a complaint about noise or trespass. Which means the person who called wasn't a neighbor annoyed about the party. It was someone worried about Blueface, or Nevaeh, or the baby, which either widens the suspect pool of who dialed, or narrows it dramatically, depending on how you read the day. I read it the second way. I'm going to let you fill in that blank yourself, because I'd rather not name it on camera. And notice what none of the 4 outlets did. Nobody interviewed Chrisean Rock. Not one of them. She was the person at the gate, at the house that morning, and the subject of the preemptive announcement. And every outlet ran with the version of the story where she's a plot beat, not a source. That absence isn't editorial oversight. That's an access decision, and access decisions are made with money. Now, the counter read, and I want to give it its full strength. Somebody's going to say, it's all content, every bit of it staged, Chrisean was in on it, the cops are the only unpaid actors in the whole production. And look, I get it. This family's entire economy runs on conflict, and Chrisean herself later explained her side of showing up. Reportedly, she came looking. Tensions with Nevaeh had already spiked over a reported $10,000 spend in the days before the shower. Real grievances, real history, real knife rumors that I'm not touching because they're allegations, not paper. But the staged theory dies on one detail. The invitation-only announcement came days early, and the security existed before she arrived. You don't staff a gate for a bit. You staff a gate for a probability. Whatever else was performance that day, the expectation that Chrisean Rock would appear was treated, privately, as fact. And it was. Here's the second counter-read, this one straight off the front page of the Blueface fan camp. The whole thing was a normal baby shower that a hostile press decided to sensationalize, and everything after Chrisean pulled up is media invention. Give that its full weight for a second. Because a real baby shower did happen. A pregnant woman really did open, or refuse to open, gifts. A magician really did quit. Guests really did eat, drink, dance, and go home. Not a single frame of this night involves a fabricated moment. Which means the fan camp counter-read isn't wrong on the facts. It's wrong on the frame. And here's why. A baby shower where a private security team is pre-briefed on a specific named guest of concern, where the flyer was designed by an LLC-registered manager, where a bartender was asked to print a paternity joke on the menu, where the entertainment was booked into an environment that violated the entertainer's own written rider, and where the stream numbers rose in direct correlation with attention moments. That's not a private family event that was sensationalized. That's a hybrid event that was preloaded to be both, and the family framing is the one being deployed strategically when the cops arrive. A real celebration and a design broadcast product are not mutually exclusive. They occupied the same driveway all day. The counter-read collapses because it treats them as opposites when they were actually running on the same power supply. Steelman number 3, because the DDG camp has won too. DDG's manager, on his own stream 2 nights after the shower, pushed back. Daryl didn't dodge a baby shower. Daryl was in Atlanta at a session for the album. The talk conversation is a business conversation. Business conversations don't happen at baby showers. Which is a fair line. Business isn't done over cake. But watch the misdirection. Nobody accused DDG of dodging the shower. The receipt Blueface put on the table is that DDG gifted 50 subs to the stream from that very shower. He was present, digitally, financially, loud, and then silent on the tour. The Steelman defends a claim Blueface never made, which is what Steelmen do when the actual claim is harder to answer. So here's the read the first page of your feed isn't going to give you. The mainstream version says a baby shower descended into chaos. I'd argue the opposite. This was the most controlled production Blueface has ever run, and the chaos was the set design. Think about what actually happened, structurally. A 9-figure adjacent rapper's personal milestone got converted, in full, into a live broadcast product. The venue was content. The guest list was content. The X at the gate was content, handled off-camera, recapped on-camera, which is exactly how you monetize a threat without platforming it. The absent friend got turned into a storyline. The DDG tour dispute is now a multi-episode arc with a built-in cliffhanger, and it cost nothing but a microphone that was already on. Even the police became the closing scene, resolved politely, on stream, in under 5 minutes. This wasn't a baby shower that got filmed. It was a stream that had a baby shower inside it. Callback receipts hold this up. The signature at the gate. The LLC registered flyer. The vendor menu curated by client. The trademark filing 3 weeks early. The archived flyer metadata. The out-to-town partnership Blueface is fourth in line on. The scrub chat replays. Every one of those is a business decision dressed as a life event, and none of them cost money to execute. They cost planning. Planning is cheap. Planning is invisible. Planning is what makes a chaotic night look accidental to 50,000 witnesses. And I want to be precise about why that distinction matters, because it's not a criticism. That's the part that'll get twisted. Look at the economics. I ain't never did 50K with nobody, he told Nevaeh, and then, listen to the phrasing, everything I do does well, man. He's not celebrating a party. He's reviewing metrics. The pregnancy itself was announced on a Twitch stream in February, the gender reveal was content, the maternity shoot was content, the shower set a channel record, and if the pattern holds, and it will, the birth will be the season finale. There are people in the industry who pay consultants 6 figures to engineer a funnel like this. Jonathan Porter built his by accident, in public, with his actual family as the cast. Now the jabs, and they cut in both directions. To the blogs that ran chaos at the baby shower, the only chaos was at the gate, and it got handled more professionally than most award shows. To DDG, respectfully, because the history is real, you don't get to give 50 subs to a man whose streaming career you built and then leave his tour texts on read. That's not Hollywood. That's just bad bookkeeping on a friendship. And to everyone saying Nevaeh got overshadowed on her own day, she walked out with the viewer record in her name, the venue in her aesthetic, and the one person who tried to test the perimeter escorted away. Scoreboard's not close. Add 1 for XXL, and this one's dry. When your headline calls a police welfare check a brief stopover, and your byline sits 3 inches from a kick partner ad, we don't have to guess what your editorial priority is. We can just read the page. It's the neatest form of PR because it doesn't require a press release. The layout does the work. Add 1 for the DDG camp, this one almost sympathetic. If you're really in Atlanta cutting an album while the man who built your streaming feeder network sets a record on your platform without you, and your response is a manager pushing back on a claim nobody made, the album better be a classic. Because the receipts on that timeline read like a business partner who saw a rising number and decided he'd rather compete with it than co-produce it. That's a legitimate move. It's not a friendship move. Pick one and own it. Add 1 for the fan camp truthers. The ones already in the replies typing cousin, all of this is fake, you'll reach. Genuinely, you can hold the position that Chrisean's visit was authentic and that the response to it was pre-staged. Those aren't opposites. That's exactly the sophistication of the operation. The unscripted moment is what makes the scripted response look real. That's not reaching. That's what a production designer would call good coverage. And an absurdist one for the caller, whoever you are. Dispatching lap to a live stream at exactly 8 p.m., the hour the invitation said the party ends, is either a miracle of civic timing or a person with a very good watch. Either way, thank you for the closing scene. The editor did nothing and got the shot of the year. Here's my honest hedge, though, because it matters. None of this proves intent. Maybe none of it was designed. Maybe a chaotic man simply lives a chaotic life and the camera just happens to always be rolling when it peaks. But I've been doing this long enough to know that when the camera always happens to be rolling, rolling is the plan. The tell, for me, is one quiet line late in the night. Nevaeh, exhausted, feet swollen, getting pressed to open gifts for the camera. Put yourselves on my fat-ass feet right now. You would too. Retaining water. And the room, her day, negotiates her back to work. She held the line. Gifts went home unopened. The one person who refused to perform at the content factory was the person the whole factory was supposedly built to celebrate. Sit with that. There's a second tell I've been sitting on and I'll put it down here. When the officer asked commercial event or family event, Blueface answered family. Immediate. No hesitation. Which, you already saw the receipts, is not the answer 8 hours of stream had been rehearsing. But watch what he did with his hands during that beat. The clip is up on X, 39 seconds long. He pockets his phone. Right pocket. And keeps it there for the entire interaction with the officer, which is the only stretch of the whole day the phone isn't visible in his hand. Small gesture. Enormous instinct. He knew, on reflex, that the phone in his hand during a police interaction was a receipt he didn't want to create, which is a man who understands, at a nervous system level, exactly what he was building all day. The party was public. The pocket was private. Both were choices. So where does it go from here? Watch what happens in the next 10 days. The due date is August 24th, 6 days from tonight. This child is going to be born into the most engaged audience Blueface has ever held, and I'd put real money on the birth announcement breaking the record the shower just set. Don't be surprised if there's a stream from the hospital corridor, not the delivery room. Even this operation has a line, but something. A countdown. A his here with a chat replay. Bookmark this. If the birth content doesn't outdraw 58K concurrence, I'll say so on camera. Extend that cascade. Watch how the sponsorships arrange themselves the week after. Kick partner brands don't chase 58K concurrence casually. The last time a personal live stream on the platform crossed 50K, Per Variety's April 2026 piece on Kick's ad market, 3 energy drink brands and a sports betting operator were on the phone within 96 hours. Expect the same pattern here. Expect a baby-safe pivot on the pitch deck, softer verticals, direct-to-consumer diaper brands, formula companies staying nowhere near it because formula legal teams don't touch live streams. Watch which vertical bites first. It'll tell you what the next 12 months of this channel look like. Then the secondary cascade nobody's talking about. Nevaeh's own streaming numbers, which, per Chartmetrics cross-platform panel, was sitting at a modest 4K average concurrence on her own Kick channel prior to the shower. She's now attached, on record, to a 58K night. Her rate card is about to rewrite itself. The next video on her own channel isn't going to sit at 4K. It'll draw a curious 15K to 20K and settle somewhere in between. If she signs her own personal life deal in the next 30 days independent of Blueface, the whole household economy shifts, and every downstream storyline, including the ones with Chrisean in them, starts running through her platform, not his. Don't be shocked when that happens. Failure prediction for the opposition on this one. The outlets that framed the shower as chaos are going to have to eat the birth coverage as celebration, and the whiplash will read on the page. Watch the same bylines pivot from descended into to beautifully welcomed within the same week. Screenshot both. That's your receipt. The DDG thread is the wild card. 2 exits exist. Either Granbury responds this week, a stream, a call on camera, the tour gets announced with dates and the whole "you went Hollywood" arc retroactively becomes promo for it, or the silence stretches, and Blueface keeps the feud simmering as weekly content until DDG's hand is forced. The second path is worse for DDG and better for the channel, which is exactly why I expect it. His already floating alternatives on stream, already name-checking Europe. The tour happens with DDG or without him. The only variable is whether Daryl wants to be inside the tent or a recurring segment. Extend that one too. By the next quarterly royalty statement, Sound Exchange runs its distribution in October. Expect the DDG feature share on any Blueface-adjacent catalog to be visible as a data point in publishing filings on ASCAP's public search. If DDG pulls features off the pending Blueface project, we'll see it there before we hear it on stream. Once that filing lands, the feud becomes fiscal, and fiscal feuds don't resolve in a phone call. They resolve in a press release 6 months later that nobody clicks on. The next window will look like silence for 2 weeks, then a mutual friend intermediary post, then a "we were never beefing" clip designed to reset the algorithm. Track those 3 beats. Second failure prediction on this scenario. The DDG managers "we were in Atlanta at a session" defense is going to age poorly if the album drops without a Blueface feature. Because that's the flip side of the alibi. If you were really in the studio that day, then the studio produced something, and the track list reads, When the track list reads without a Blueface track, the business conversations don't happen at baby showers line becomes retroactively obvious as a distance move. And then the residue, the part that outlives all of it. A kid is about to arrive whose conception date, gender, name, baby shower, and birth were all broadcast products before he took a breath. Superior, Nevaeh's older son, already has a catchphrase economy around him. Chrisean Jr. is growing up across the driveway divide, one gate away, literally. 5 years from now, none of these children will remember this night. But the archive will. 50,000 people watched the rehearsal for childhood, and the chat called it regular. If you've ever run IRL streaming numbers, you already know what a 58K night does to a man's next 12 months of bookings. Say it in the comments louder than I can. Extend that residue. By the time this baby is old enough to Google himself, the platform he'll find will not be Kick. Kickzone Q2 2026 investor update already flagged personal life verticals as saturated and pivoting toward gaming primary categorization for 2027. Which means the archive of this night lives on a platform whose product roadmap is moving away from what this night represents. Once that pivot hits, the shower stream becomes a museum piece. Preserved, migrated, screenshot, but not the flagship kind of content it was on August 18, 2026. That means the peak of this family's personal life broadcast economy may already be behind them, and none of them know it yet. That's the 5U aftershock nobody's clocking. The tour they are fighting over may end up being the artifact this era is remembered by not the birth stream, not the baby shower, but the roadshow that either happened or didn't. Watch the calendar. Third failure prediction, this one for everybody. The assumption that the next moment will be bigger than this one is how content economies collapse. Every escalation demands a next escalation. If the birth outdraws the shower, the first birthday has to outdraw the birth. If the first birthday can't outdraw the birth, the audience reads it as a decline story, and the algorithm treats it as one. The only way to break that loop is to opt out of it, and opting out is the one thing this camp has never demonstrated the ability to do. If I'm wrong, I'll say it. If I'm right, you'll see the numbers before I say anything. That's the honest read on the call that brought police to that door. It came from the audience, not the house. The viewers didn't just watch the event. One of them dispatched to it. When the crowd can send law enforcement to your party in real time, you're not hosting anymore. You're broadcasting. And everybody inside that mansion, every vendor, every guest, every future storyline, now knows it. Drop where you land in the comments. I read them all. If this breakdown earned its spot in your feed, the button's right there. The bell keeps the next one from getting buried. And this case is not closed. Due dates in 6 days. The moment there's paper on this birth, we're back in this room. Until then, keep the screenshots. Somebody always deletes something.